Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the Accounting and Tax Helpdesk. Today we're going to talk about what would be a good accountant, what would be the process to hire an accountant, and what business owners need to know to hire an accountant or keep their current accountant. Choosing the right accountant is very crucial, especially for a small business owner. First, you want to make sure you don't have that much to spend on the overhead. So you want to make sure you hire the right accountant from the first place. The right accountant is more than someone who just file your taxes. It's gonna be your partner. It's gonna be understand your business. It's gonna give you advice, and it's gonna guide you through your journey. And a bad accountant could be the other way. It could be miss your deadlines, give you bad advices, and increase your cost, and not helping with saving any taxes and helping grow your business. One of the most common misconceptions that people have about hiring an accountant, that thinks that all accountants are the same. They see an accountant, they think that's going to be the product, it's going to be the same. Each accountants have different expertise. They know in the different industries. Some of them are tax experts, some of them is more in financial CFO services, some of them they're just bookkeeper, and some just a simple accountant, and some are not just a good even CPA or accountant. So not all the accountants are the same. So it all depends on their experience, their knowledge, and how they can help you. So it depends on your situation. It depends on their experience and situation. So all accountants can play a different role in your growth. A lot of times people ask what would be the difference between a CPA, accountant, or bookkeeper. What are the differences? It doesn't matter or not. Enrolled agent. So the bookkeeper just records your day-to-day transactions. So it's a transactional things, and their role is very important too. So they need to make sure they code everything correctly in the right place. Accountant have more experience with the numbers. They look at the numbers that the bookkeeper imported, decoded. They'll make sure the amounts are okay to some extent. And based on experience, they can analyze or not. But CPAs, good CPAs, can go to the further, and then they can analyze. They can plan things, find the strategic plans for your business and growth. They point the problems, and they find the ways that you can save taxes. So in our firm, Alamir CPAs, we have bookkeeper, we have accountant, we have CFOs, and we have CPAs to prepare your tax returns. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us and we will help you. Sometimes people ask, do I need to have an accountant? Do you have to bookkeeper, or just need to have a CPA? So it depends on the size of your business. And the second is, are you planning to do everything by yourself? So even the small business, I would recommend at least hire an outside bookkeeper or in-house bookkeeping. It depends on your size of the company. So make sure they record the transactional correctly. A lot of people, small business owner, some of them, they're trying to do their own bookkeeping. They record their transactions, and at the end, when you look at their books, the numbers are not correct. They're recorded, but not coded correctly, and they're not accountants, so their numbers have not been reconciled. So those numbers, from the business owner standpoint, looks good. They think they did it correctly, but the numbers don't make sense, and it's misleading. So the number one thing I would say, always recommend, have a bookkeeper. Make sure the transactions are recorded correctly. And then if your business is growing, you should have a CPA, or accountant that look at the numbers, make sure the numbers are okay, and give you advice on the numbers, and plan for growth, and then save taxes. So any side of the business, you must have a bookkeeper, unless you don't. There are 2 transactions per month. So your business is growing, making money. From that point, and you're planning to grow. If you're not making money, you're not planning to grow, so yeah, you don't need a CPA, because there is nothing to save taxes. And then if you're not planning to grow, so you say that is just a side job, that's a hobby. But it's not a hobby. If you're planning to grow your business, try to save taxes. You try to grow in the different, and find the different sources. You want to fund through equity, fund through liabilities. All of those, you need a CPA. Or experienced accountant. The CPA is a title. It's a good title that shows the person's abilities, but sometimes good experienced accountant could do the same thing. So not always focus on the title. It's a very good indication of the person's abilities, but sometimes a lot of good accountants with good experience can help you with that. But from that point that you start growing, you need to have a professional help you to look at your numbers, make sure the numbers correct, and start planning your growth and have a strategy for your tax saving and spending money in the correct categories. So we talk about it that all the accountants are not the same, and then as a CPA's accountant, we always see different scenarios, and we see the bad accountants. A lot of times the clients come, I look at the tax return, there is no backup for the numbers. The numbers, I don't know how the numbers came up. There is no financial statements to rely on those numbers. The financial never reconciled, means you never know how the number was generated in the first place. So there is nothing to base on, to plan on something, because the numbers are not correct in the first place. So the prior accountants, some of them you see they came up with the numbers from nowhere and based on just a conversation with the clients. So in those cases, the clients were blindsided for a long time. They had no plan, they didn't know where they are, and then sometimes the reality hit and then say, oh, I don't have any cash in my bank account. I thought I was making money, but the reality was different. So there were a lot of times that the prior accountants basically didn't reconcile their works. They just come up with the numbers and made a lot of troubles in the future. So the good accountant, good CPA can help you a lot from the tax standpoint and from the financial perspective and the growth. So when you're hiring an accountant, think about you going on a date. If that person on the date asks you good questions, it means that person is interested. They're planning to learn about you. They're interested in you. They're not there to just have a dinner and just go and say, who was that person? Your good accountant, ask good questions. Make sure they communicate with you well. What are they interested in your growth, or are just they interested to selling you something? They ask for your challenges. They ask what your problem with the prior CPA or accountant was. They're just not gonna convince you to just change your CPA. If they listen to you, if they hear your current CPA accountant does the good job, you don't need to change, they will let you know. So always look at their communication skills, if they're interested, if they're available, if they ask good questions, and if they know that they have knowledge based on just the conversation, and they don't overpromise anything, that they're gonna change your life, they're gonna turn around everything, they're gonna do a magic, because there is no magic. They can help you a lot, but there is no always magic. If you see an accountant overpromise you something, that would be maybe a red flag. Before looking at your numbers, before realize your situation. So make sure your accountant is genuinely interested in your goals and your business and try to help you. So there are a lot of questions that you can ask your accountant and you get understanding if it's going to be a good fit. First thing, you can ask about their experience as an accountant, experience with the industry they're working on. Ask them for examples, like how they help the other clients, and ask them how they're available and what's their communication. How do you communicate? How do they transfer the files? Or do you do it through the secure portal, or just they send you documents without any securities? So all of these indicates that if those accountants are qualified or not. If they're, and ask them if they understand your business. That's the first thing. If they give you vague answers, that would be a red flag. If they ask them how you can help to improve our process, or how can you help us, and then they give you a very vague and over-promising, that would be a red flag. Industry experience is very crucial for a lot of accountants, especially in the real estate, e-commerce, constructions. You shouldn't expect for each individual job it should be a specified accountant. That's going to be a lot of not reasonable. For example, if you have a grocery store, if it's a retail store, if it's a clothing, or is it just equipment, sometimes there is no specialized accountant just for that product. So there is some generality about experiencing that business, but still is good, especially crucial if you're in real estate, not just having one rental property, but if you're really investing in a real estate, you need to work with the CPAs that specialize, have enough knowledge about real estate. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. If you're working in the e-commerce, you need to work with an accountant has experience in that industry, so you don't miss anything on the sales tax or any saving or strategic planning. So to some point and the extent of your business, the experience of the accountant in that industry is very important. But again, you need to have a reasonable expectation. There is no accountant that know any specific thing about any specific jobs. There are some generality that's like real estate, e-commerce. If your business is the sole owner, sometimes if you're a doctor or an attorney, it might not be that much difference. So it depends on the situation, but it's always good that your CPA has experience with your current industry. So there are a lot of red flags that you can feel that if that accountant is the right fit or not. First, you can look at their website, look at their credential, CPAs or good accountant, asking if they're asking right questions or not, if they give you vague answers, if they're overpromising, if they're saying without knowing your situation, they just promise you save a lot of taxes without even looking at your books. Maybe you already done everything you could, So the red flag is how they communicate with you, how much they know about your challenges. Are they interested in knowing about your challenges? If they have somehow experience in that industry. And then again, you can look at their website, if they have a good reviews, if they have an good online website. You can talk to other clients if they are referred, means like they already trusted that accountant. But having a 10 to 15 minutes conversation with an accountant can give you a lot of information about that accountant, CPA. So if your accountant call on March 20th or April and ask for your documents, and that's the only time during the year you have conversation with your accountant, it means your accountant is reactive. You just prepare your return, crunch numbers, and do the compliance. If you hear from your accountant during the year, quarterly, monthly, talk to you, they give you some suggestions, they remind you about the due dates of different elections, especially before the year ends, to do the tax planning, those accountants is proactive. Those accountants you need to work with to make sure you don't lose any tax saving opportunities, and then you don't lose any opportunities for growth. So when you just feel like your accountant is reactive, they're not available, when they are calling you in March 15th or April 14th, those are the time that you say, okay, do I get what I need from an accountant? Do I even get any advice that help me? Do I save anything? Do I give me any insight about my business? Do I talk about any opportunities to save taxes? If they don't have any of those conversations, and if they just tell you, oh, you should be happy, you make a lot of money, so that's why you pay taxes, that's the time you need to think about switching your accountant. When you work with your accountant for long term, and then it's a good fit, it's the right accountant, every year your accountants know more and more about you and your business, because it's going to be a progress. So the first day, okay, even if it's a good accountant, still don't know anything about you. Your situation comes year by year, your industries, your challenges. So in the long term, a good accountant can help you a lot, help you with a lot of things that uh, you don't even think about, like estate planning. They see your situation, you see the wealth of your family, they give you good advice. You need to start doing estate planning. You need to start thinking about selling your business. You need to start changing your business structure. These things come with the times, with the long-term relationship. So a good accountant, but if you have a bad accountant, even the long term, that's not gonna help anything. So every year you hear email from the accountant on March 15 to April 15, and they prepare your return. So long term relationship with the wrong person, with the good fit, is gonna be very beneficial for your business. And then long term relationship with a bad accountant is gonna be being the long term in the bad long term relationship in any other thing aspects. So the number one piece of advice I can give you when you're trying to find an accountant, the price you're paying, you should have a budget. That's a reasonable budget, but not but the price that you're paying to the accountant should not be your priority, because it's more than expense. It's your investment. You invest in that accountant. So you shouldn't look at this. Okay, this accountant I pay $1,000. This one I pay 800. So I go with the 800. Maybe the 800 is better. It's not whoever is more expensive is better, but you should have different criteria just other than price shopping. You need to make sure it's the right fit with the good questions. It's gonna be they have a good communication skills. They're available. They know what they're talking about. So the price, when you're doing the price shopping, make sure the price, just think about the like a budget. Okay, I can afford paying for accountant at this time from 1,000 to 2,000. So, and then your price range should be a little more flexible, because again, this is more about investment than a cost to your business. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We try to help you with finding the right accountant. I know right now you're listening to the right accountant, but if you have more questions, feel free to reach out at the help desk at alamircpas.com, or leave a comment, like us, subscribe in the podcast, and if you have any questions, just send a message.